So hello and welcome to Energy by Jessica. I am so happy that you're here and that we're sitting here with this amazing Kara Melendy. Thank you so much for being here. Kara is just a woman of many traits. She is an amazing astrologer, an Akashic Record Practitioner, a psychotherapist. In addition to that, she is an amazing business coach for spiritual entrepreneurs, light workers, and has supported thousands of women and shares so much wisdom online on a daily basis, I would say. So I just feel really honored to have you here, Kara. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jessica. I've been looking forward to this. And I know we've been connected in the online space for quite a few years now. And I always think that's so special just to witness one another's evolution over time. So this feels really special to be here with you today.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And that's exactly right. I mean, I started doing with you the natal chart readings on like a yearly basis, probably like 5, 6 years ago, right?
Yes, I think so.
It
That's
has been.
incredible. I can't
Yeah,
believe it's that long, but I'm like, that makes sense.
it
Yeah.
makes sense. That's why I feel like this is like so perfect to be sitting here with you because I mean, I think you really have supported me in my awakening journey, I would say, to like really understand the life that I was living through the phases and cycles and understanding the natal chart and astrology. So that has been so supportive. And also just in terms of like business coaching, like it feels like now it's the beginning of a new chapter so that we're sitting here. I think it's amazing. So I'm looking forward just to hear a little bit about your journey, right? So you have a master's in psychotherapy, right? And you started off as a therapist. And how can you let me know like how you transitioned into the energy work field or how that interest came about?
Absolutely. Yeah. I've always been very connected spiritually. Like, I always remember as a child connecting with the angels, being very sensitive to energy. Like, it's always been such a big part of my life. But as far as my career path, I did go the mainstream psychotherapy route. And I always say, if like early on in school, astrologer was an option, like, I likely would have chosen that.
Okay, yeah. So from then you had,
Wasn't, right? I think
right.
times are changing now, but at that
Yes.
time, if you really wanted to help people, like psychotherapy was the route you went as a psychologist or as a psychiatrist. And I was fascinated with human
Mhm.
behavior and understanding the mind and the brain. And so that's the path I took. I went all the way through to getting my master's in psychology. And it taught me so much. It helped me so much on my journey as well in healing trauma and better understanding the mind. And I was just so passionate to bring that to other people. And I always also had that entrepreneurial spirit. So even as a child, like I envisioned myself having my own private practice. I thought it would look like psychotherapy. So pretty early on, I did branch out on my own. Like it felt like a strong calling. And then I started to get into the world of energy psychology. So
Okay.
pretty early on in my journey, right? So very trained, got my master's, through the mainstream educational system, which was wonderful. I mean, again, I learned so much. And then pretty early, I was probably in my like
Oh,
mid
excuse me.
20s.
One second. One second. Let me turn this off because we just started it. Okay. There we go. Go on.
Probably in my mid 20s. I'm thinking when I started to branch out, have my own practice, so fairly young for a psychotherapist.
Okay.
And it was around that time I was seeing a Reiki healer as
Okay.
well. And I was telling her about my journey, and she mentioned this energy psychology conference. So I thought, okay, like I'm open. The more techniques I have to support my clients, to support myself, the better. So I was very open. And I didn't realize till after there was a little bit of a divide between the energy psychology world and the mainstream.
Right.
That's more intertwined. But once I started learning about these energy techniques, it just awakened so much in me. And I was hearing these incredible stories from people that were having healing happen, or they were in psychotherapy for years without seeing any changes. And then they found this energy technique, and they're like, within days, they started feeling better. So I couldn't forget that or look away. So it
Right.
started top of mind to the point where I realized, okay, like I've got to bring more of this into the world. So I kind of branched away more from identifying as a psychotherapist to doing more of this energy work, spiritual work. And, it was around that time as well that I got back into astrology. So I started
Okay.
reading charts for clients. And even before I incorporated it directly, when I had clients come in, I could see like their date of birth. So I would check their chart quickly, even if, it wasn't brought directly into the session. I wanted to get a better idea of their energy, how I could communicate with them, connect with them, help them feel comfortable because all of that is in the chart. So
Oh,
I use
wow.
that just as like my own information to help facilitate that connection with them. But over time, it just, that calling got louder. I'm like, I can't ignore this. I've got to bring this out into the world. And so branch more, into that spirituality path. And then I was a little bit further on my journey and in my business before I came across the Akashic Records. But
Mm,
the Akashic Records, so when that came into my awareness and my life, that's actually what expanded my business.
okay.
That's took it to like next level. Even from like so many levels, right? Even the financial perspective of feeling like I was struggling to make money, even though I really believed in my gifts and how I could help people, to just like taking off and making, well over 6 figures a year. I'm like, wow, there's something here, even deeper than the money aspect, which of course is amazing, right? I felt like aligned with my gifts, though. I'm like, wow, this is the path I meant to be on. I'm finally teaching in a way that just lands and feels powerful and aligned. And it's just blessed my life in so many ways to going on to eventually certifying others in the records because I just felt and experienced how transformational it was. So, yeah,
Oh
that's a little piece
my
of my
God,
journey.
I
I don't
love it. That's amazing. I mean, yeah, it sounds like there's just so many like little messages from angels also that brought you to the next place, to the next place. It's like you were being guided to open up this space for yourself and kind of be a leader in educating so many people about this energy work. So, I mean, that's so fascinating to hear. But in this portal here that we have, I also want to just bring more light to these practices. For someone that says, okay, astrology, like really, what is that? How could you just explain that in a very like non-woo-woo kind of way? Like, okay, what are we gonna get when I get my like natal chart read? Like, what is benefit for me on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in my psychotherapy days, I was obsessed with personality tests because again, just this desire to like better understand myself, better understand other people. And then once I started studying birth charts and astrology, which was always a passion of mine, like I was also the kid on the schoolyard reading everyone their horoscopes. So it was a love of mine. Astrology goes much, much deeper than like those silly write-ups and sun signs, though. So I do want to make that clear. Like,
Right.
as I branched further into the study of that, I'm like, wow, this is the best personality test you could ever take. Like
Oh
this
my God.
so detailed and it captures so much about how a person communicates, what makes them magnetic, how their intuition speaks to them, their path this lifetime for career. And then it goes even deeper than that to really look at like our soul path. So the traits that we are here to step into this lifetime, the lessons we are here to learn, as well as the karma we are ready to release, the patterns that it's time to let go of. So it's just such a helpful blueprint. I see it as taking us back to our soul blueprint. I think
Right.
we all come really coded to thrive. We each have different gifts, different abilities, different talents, and our birth chart helps us understand that in
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
beautiful ways. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's a good starting point for somebody that says, okay, like I want to get to better know myself or understand why I'm a certain way or with this certain like chain of events. I think
Mhm.
that's like such a deep understanding and it's fun and it's really like I think the first kind of entryway maybe into this field where you can say, okay, I start to believe because it's always about this resonance. Like it has to resonate with you, right? In order to, especially in this metaphysical world or this energy world. I think that it's not something you're trying to ever convince anybody to get into. It's that they feel like this heart space, like, oh God, this makes sense. And then that is kind of like the way you start walking the path. Like, okay, maybe I will step out of the traditional way of like healing or therapy and look into another avenue, right? And I think that's exactly what it is with the natal chart, that you start to understand and have patience with life, I think, a little bit more too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just an absolutely incredible tool because we each have our birth chart. And then in addition to that, there's transits, which is basically the cosmic weather at any given time. And that gives a lot of clarity on what we're navigating in our life. And a lot of people I find turn to astrology when they're going through big life challenges or death and rebirth portals. And they're just wondering, like, what's going on? Can I have some guidance here? And I find astrology is just so helpful for understanding the lesson within it, that there is going to be light on the other side, and even just a reassurance that nothing's really gone wrong. So it provides a lot of peace and calmness and clarity for people. And I think exactly what you said, it's never about the convincing. I really feel we're each here on our own path. And the most powerful thing we can do this lifetime is follow our path, follow our calling, know where our intuition is leading us. And then it takes a lot of courage and boldness to say yes to that. And our path, of course, evolves and changes over time. I do feel right now more and more people are awakening to
Yeah.
this. Like, of course, I've been in the spiritual communities for so long that it's a, it's very status quo space.
Yeah.
But I also find there's, just interest in more and more people of like, okay, like I want to learn more about this. And they're going through their own soul awakening and wanting to better understand their connection with their higher self or with the divine. And they're seeking out these tools. And I think it's such a beautiful thing because it really does guide our path. And we all like to have that direction. So astrology is
Exactly.
great for that.
Absolutely. And that's exactly right. I mean, from my personal story, the awakening began when I started to listen really clearly to my intuition. And I just did a podcast before about this sixth sense, this intuitive nature that we have that we often suppress or don't connect with. But if we could learn that this is an energetic practice that actually guides us through our life instead of like, putting it to the side and making things more complicated. So, I think the energy work also really helps us tap into this intuitive gift that we all have. This is our superpower. And like you said, I mean, when we look at our chart and understand who we are with this purpose, really without any shades on, we can really start to walk the path of an intuitive person and expand and awaken. So yeah, it's all relevant and it's so beautiful, like you say. I mean, I think also once one goes through this experience, many of us are called to then bring it forward to the world, right? I think that is definitely something that I recognize. It's the beautiful idea of sharing this gift with the world, this collective gift that we all can come out of these the shadows, you know what I mean? Like that we can all come out of our hard times or our trauma or start to reverse how things are made so that we can change our society. And I think that's what's happening right now is that we need to really bring our light forward. And through these conversations, I think that's where we're getting to. But it's great to hear from your end that you, since you have, worked with thousands of women that actually do work in this field, that that globally there is a community out there, right?
Oh, there absolutely is. And I love what you're sharing, Jessica. I really see it as like a liberation as well when we start to come back home to our intuition, because we all have this programming and stories about the world. And, in psychology, we often talk about those first 7 years of our life where we are like a sponge and we're not questioning what we're seeing or what we're being told by our parents, our teachers, or our caregivers. We're just kind of concluding this is the way the world works. So a lot of us end up going through life and we may be like 40 years old, but we have some programming that was put there when we were 5. So it no longer belongs. And we're like reliving these patterns. And I think when we begin to like question those beliefs and the lens in which we see the world through, and we're willing to shift it, there's so much freedom in that. And we start to see that there's so much more to it. Like we're physical beings, but we're also energetic, emotional, and spiritual. And when we take that holistic perspective, that's such a game changer. And like the word that keeps coming through is like liberation, liberating those patterns.
Oh,
And I think,
goodness.
that's like the dark night of the soul as well,
Yes.
that go through. And on the other side, there's that beauty and there's that expansion. And our intuition can be such a powerful guide in that. And we do all come with that gift. That's a gift we come in with. Now, learning to listen to it, how it speaks to us, that's a skill. And that's similar to the Akashic Records. I always, share with people, we can all access this space. It's not as if some of us can and others can't, but it is a
Exactly.
skill similar to our intuition. We have to learn to cultivate it.
Exactly. That's amazing. Yeah, because I've done I mean I've done a 2-year shamanic priestess course that I was every 3 months going into the mountains here in Austria, Germany, and spending 3 days really uncovering layer by layer all of these parts of myself. And through this experience, I am just such a firm believer of this energy work. There is no more any doubt. It's very similar to what you do with the Akashic Records and how we can tap into this field and receive this communication. And there's so much adventure and healing and power that can go into in this realm. So
Mhm.
it's so great speaking to you because it's for many people very new, right? And I wouldn't say judgment or no judgment, but it's a new experience. And like you also say, this is an intuitive gift that we can access this field, that we can tap into this field. Of course, it is a skill, and one has to be, committed to learning it, to practicing it. And, but even still, we can slowly, even by making a decision to want to learn, I think that's the first step, right?
Well, absolutely. And I feel like we know when we're called, like when something really speaks to us, there's this inner
Yeah.
calling, whether that is astrology or the records or human design or shamanic practices. There's something there when it speaks to us. There's like a resonance.
I
And
love it.
that's
Yeah.
the first step. It's like, yes, I'm going to follow it. And again, that's where I think the courage comes in to say yes. Because when these tools come in or like this awareness, it can feel strange at first. And another thing a lot of my clients move through is what people are going to think of them if they're talking about this energy work or they're pursuing these practices. And I think that's also just a deeper layer of healing because there's so much fear we have about people pleasing or what others are going to think. And at the end of the day, we're here to follow our path. We're not here to please others. We're not here to fit into the boxes. We're here really to be trailblazers and leaders and to say yes to where our heart is leading us. And I think when we have the courage to say yes, the people do appear, right? It's like that old saying, the teacher appears when the student is ready. And I've found that throughout my journey as well, coming across incredible mentors just at the time that I was ready to learn a new skill or I was ready for a new level of expansion. So the help and support is always going to show up if we're willing to own and say, like, I want to learn more about this. I want to deepen my connection with my intuition, with my soul, with my spiritual gifts. There is support in being able to do that. It's seen and unseen. Our spirit
Oh,
team is
yeah.
supporting us and so many incredible, earth angels and humans on our path, and even podcasts like yours, Jessica. Like, it's so beautiful that we have these resources available now where we don't have to feel alone on our journey and we can like plug into these places where it feels like people are speaking to our heart and they get us and there's that sense of community. And we are actually in a time right now where community is very important. Speaking of the astrology, anybody that kind of follows that may have heard about the big shift of Pluto in Aquarius this year.
On my
And this,
birthday.
oh, no way.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but yes, go on.
Oh, I love that. I bet you were feeling that, right? That
Yeah.
really is a new timeline for you. So for
Mhm.
all of us, though, I mean, this is like a new era. We've never experienced that. There's so many cosmic shifts that have happened this year that none of us on the planet at this time have experienced. So we really are a new territory. But a big part of these shifts is not doing the journey alone. Like
Yes. Oh,
recognizing that we are here to co-create together and receive other people's sacred medicine and knowledge, and also be that gift for other people, really helping one another. So we're definitely at a time where people are seeking out those communities in new ways and finding them, which is really exciting.
Absolutely. Yes, and trusting the way, because especially, in the past, I feel like your world can feel so small, according to your inner community where you are, but it's just so expansive. And I think it's like I always meditate on my light shining and knowing that those in that frequency are coming, and it's just like a beautiful feeling, like coming home, where you can
Yeah.
fully be yourself and honor the person sitting in front of you, and doing everything out of the heart. I think that's also what this business is. Women and men that are involved in this spiritual work, it really comes from the heart. I think it's like this soul connection that wants to express and wants to contribute and wants to be a part of. So it is really a great time, even though, of course, there's so much contrast, but that's especially why I like felt so clear call to do these podcasts, was because just as much as the contrast exists, our light needs to be brighter. It is our time now to stand up for this next level of communication with, as you say, we have our earth angels, we have our spirit team, we have our angels all around us, and to normalize this conversation a little bit, right? So, I mean, Akashic Records, for somebody that doesn't know what that is, please tell me, let's tell us how it is, what it is, and how you get in there.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and like I said, this was just game changing, coming across the records at a time that just felt so pivotal in my business and how I see my business as well. It's really a soul calling. It's an expression of my soul. It's a vehicle for my soul to grow and evolve and help others. So when I was initially drawn to the records, it's so interesting. It had nothing to do with actually business in and of itself. It was something else going on in my life that I was wanting clarity and healing around. So I ended up seeking out this person that I connected with who opened the records. And it was so interesting because being in that space, downloads kept coming through for my business, even though that wasn't the intent. And that's when I initially got the download around spiritual goddesses and opening up a community to bring healers together. And it was just so much clicked into place, like that clarity on my path. And of course, like deep, deep karmic healing as well. I think, some things in our life are easier to release and let go of, and other things just feel more ingrained. And I think the records really help with that. So, as far as what the Akashic records are, more than anything, it's a frequency and energy that we tap into in the Akashic field. And it's a space of pure potential.
Mhm.
So every moment in time, there's infinite different possibilities and choice points. So our human mind sees linear time, and that's a very real experience on our earth plane. But the language of the universe is actually frequency and energy. It does not work on linear time. So the records is a space where it's pure potential and choice points that exist in any moment. And remember, it's a frequency. So I know it can feel very abstract and ethereal. It's something, we experience. It's also it holds the records of our soul.
Mhm.
So we incarnate it for many different lifetimes, even different dimensions, you could say as well. For most people, this isn't their first time being here. I would
Yes.
see anybody drawn to your podcast and your work, it's not their first time being here. You've lived many, many lifetimes, and the records help us tap into that knowledge. And that's where it can support us with healing. If we're carrying trauma or pain from a past life into this lifetime, often that'll manifest as phobias in people too, especially the ones where they don't know the root cause. That's usually like past life. So records shine a light on that. And then the future exists in possibility. So our future is not written in stone. There is different intentions our soul has coming in. I always say, like, there's the highest path, there's the more aligned path, but there's never judgment around that from the higher realms. There's just different options and different choice points. And really, we're contributing and adding to our records all of the time as well. Like this conversation, every moment, every interaction is also contributing to that field and data bank of information.
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah. I'll hand it over to you, Jessica, because
Yeah,
you
no,
know
I
all
mean, I
about
love it. It is just so
it.
fascinating because I mean, what I find so great in this time and place is that there is so much science out there to back this up. That was for me, I think, like the turning point with this shamanic work that I did because, you always question, we are still human and we have these kind of doubtful energy, like, is this real? Is this not real? I think that it's a lot of the times in this energy work. But when I have from another perspective the conversation about quantum physics and the field and how we can tap into these limited possibilities, it's just like it's like everything is merging now, right? And so like for people that have a hard time grasping that, then there is so much evidence to prove that there is this field. And I think that's we're at a great place now as energy workers to be able to give people just the facts. Like, Joe Dispenza, of
Yeah.
course. I think he's just amazing. I love him so much. I mean, I followed him for like 15, 20 years. He was really like a game changer for me, like in my support to build my courage, as you said, to follow my voice. I got the call, I needed support, and I kept going out of the box. And, it was not an easy ride, but I continued doing it. And now I look and reflect and see everything that I've achieved in my life. And I know that I was always supported, that this
Mhm.
field was always there, that I was always using my imagination, that I was always tapping into this field without conscious or unconscious, right? But like now, like when you say this, it's just, I feel like for many people that are new to this, it's like, well, is it something worth looking into? Because if I can really see another version of myself, and if I can really start to heal, like you say, phobias or just unfortunate blocks that we carry from other lifetimes, why not do it, right? I mean, if the curiosity is there, it's definitely so exciting to offer
Oh,
that.
I feel like it's like the secret weapon. When people tap into it, they're just
Exactly.
like,
I
right,
say the superpower. Yeah.
it's a superpower. It really is. And like as you were sharing that, the quote that the saying that came in pertaining to astrology is that billion or millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do.
Oh my God, that's so great.
It's just such
Exactly.
a superpower. And yeah, we are at a time now where so many people are looking at bringing science to this. I also think of the Heart Math Institute, which is doing
Yes.
such incredible work around understanding the wisdom that we hold in our heart that transcends the logic of our mind. And like the research and studies that have gone into that are
Mm,
phenomenal. Even some of the latest videos I've seen from them that are really helping people like tap into those intuitive
mm,
abilities and gifts, and like they're documenting that in new ways. I
mhm.
think of the telepathy tapes. I don't know if
Oh,
you've
the telepathy. Yes, actually, I heard it through one of your, yeah, I clicked on it. You had recommended that. But I mean, it is so amazing, right? That we are these multidimensional beings and that
Mhm.
we have, I was also speaking to someone in my last podcast, a lot of this knowledge was removed from the ancient books, right? So like that but now we're rediscovering it. So like we're becoming this new human that is open to tapping into our multi-dimensional self. And what can we do with that now, right? And I think like what is the path? So like for someone, I mean for me, it's like the openness, right? If somebody's open to at least exploring this avenue, I think that's the first inclination.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah.
Yeah, I think again, when we have that willingness, the right people come in at the right time, and it's okay to be skeptical. I mean, it's a good thing to question. Like,
Yes.
we are in a time where we have to question what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what is right for us. And I just encourage people to do that beyond the stories that we've been told about what's weird or odd or what our capacity is. And even if we look at the evolution of the planet over time, we see how far we've come on that journey. We're always
Right.
evolving and growing. So I think this next evolution is we are tapping into those gifts in a new way, and we're normalizing it. And we're even updating our subconscious mind and programming. I feel the more that we're having these conversations and recognizing that, okay, we have the mind, but we have the wisdom in our heart. I also like to talk about the super conscious mind that
Yes. Oh, God.
transcends the
Hmm.
subconscious, right? And taps us into something greater. And I feel like there is that evolution because our subconscious and our brain is kind of for the most part, still stuck in survival mode. And
Yeah.
we see the implications of that in our society, where a lot of people are getting burnout or anxiety, or like our nervous system being out of balance, because our brain's programmed to always look for these threats. But
Right.
yet, most of us aren't running from a tiger or a lion on a daily basis. So we may be stuck in traffic and we're feeling like that surge of adrenaline or that fight mode, but there's nowhere to go. And really, it's like our brain is doing the right thing in the sense of it's looking for threats, but it just needs to be upgraded to fit the world that we are in today. And I do feel this new evolution is that recognition that, okay, we're not just fighting for our survival and safety anymore. Some of that, of course, is still going on in the planet. It's a very real thing. But and I think for those of us who don't have to worry about that day to day, looking at, okay, how can we evolve for all of us? How can we
Exactly.
new consciousness of love and unity? And, you know, anchoring into love, we've all heard this before, but the more I move forward on my journey, the more I understand too that love is like the greatest force of the universe. And
Absolutely.
speaking of manifestation or creation, when we love something, what we are able to create, and when we have this divine love and this understanding of our interconnectedness, we will create more harmony on the planet. It's not just about now looking out for ourselves and our family, it's about global, looking at what's
Exactly.
going on in the world and evolving and ascending together. And part of that journey is a consciousness, right? We often talk about the
Absolutely.
new earth as a consciousness that we tap into, that we anchor in, and then that will actually change the wiring of our brain and how our mind works over time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think also, as you were saying, like with the subconscious mind, for me personally, what I found through my journey and also in working with clients and doing the energy work with clients is that we're now at a time where we can remove these blocks at a faster speed than traditional sort of therapy. Although I'm not, therapy is an amazing tool as well. It could even be a supportive tool to energy work. But I do notice as we can enter into the energy centers, into this field, and the client has a resonance of a block being there. And through the techniques, of course, that I've learned, or any energy practitioner has learned, we can remove those blocks from even past lifetimes and create a new fluid energy to enter into the energetic field of the clients, of the person, so that they can at a faster speed adjust, right? So I think that this is also such a beautiful gift to offer people, to say, sometimes we don't have to do such deep digging, if we're open and if the energy is ready to be released to go, right? And I think that a lot of people feel that when, like, as you said, you did Reiki for a very long time, or that was your entryway. I think that the people really do feel a resonance, and there is a different shift in self, I would say, right?
Totally. Yeah, yeah. It's an energy frequency. I actually, Reiki is one I've never done. There's some other energy techniques.
Oh,
Tapping was one of my original EFT. And,
oh,
it's so interesting when you talk about like, okay, some of the science catching up, because now like we have so much research even on emotional freedom technique tapping.
yes, that's
Initially it was like couldn't use that, it was strange. Now we're like, okay, wait a second, we have the research for how it relaxes the nervous system, is so good for supporting with trauma, and I found it to be incredibly powerful for manifesting and even beyond trauma, just looking at what am I now expanding into, what am I now evolving into.
yeah.
But I love how you speak about shifting blocks with greater ease, because I think we have to be aware if we're getting stuck in like the constant healing. It's
Yes,
like
it's
there's
addictive.
it
It
is, right?
is.
Because you see the benefits, right? It's like when we do this,
Yeah.
we're growing, we're healing, we're changing, we're feeling better. We want more of that. And where I help so many people now grow and expand their business through the lens of like doing astrology and the records and coming back to their soul blueprint. And of course, healing work is a part of growing and expanding our business and doing our soul's work in the world. But I always tell people like, you can be doing this healing work and still out there creating.
Yes, that's good to
Sharing
know.
your art, sharing your medicine, because none of us are perfect and we're actually not looking for perfection. And yet we all have tools and a journey and a story that can really help people. So I think it's knowing that too. It's like we're always going to be evolving and growing. And healing really does have layers. I think we're ready for deeper layers of healing at different times in our life. And healing can also be a joyful thing. I don't think we always hear it in that light, but
Right. Or even not even healing. I say upgrading. I feel like I'm upgrading. It's like and embodying because that's actually something that you do so well and I love it. And it really is. How can we embody this new version of ourselves, you know? And
love to
like
talk
it's
about
yeah,
that.
please, because it is so true. It's like I catch myself as I'm like putting myself more out there. It's like now I embody this goddess or embody this person that I want to be because as you said, we're always evolving. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about healing. I think that's a process. It's like a journey, right? And energy work is the part of the journey. It's like I decide to go in this path of living in my energy field and upgrading, and having fun and upgrading, having fun. So yeah, embodiment. Like, can you just tell me your magic spell for embodiment?
Yes, I love doing this work, both from the lens of astrology and the Akashic records. Like a big way I love to work in the records, even more than the past life journeys, although that has a place, it's powerful. It's really about like that highest self embodiment. And
Mm,
that's always growing and expanding as well. But it's exactly what you said. It's like every new level, I think, even in our business or in our creative work, requires a new version of ourselves.
yeah.
So it's energy of I love tapping into, okay, this future version of me, if I bring her into this timeline, how does she think? What decisions does she make? How
Mm,
does she make decisions is even more powerful. Is she driven by fear of the past or really pulled forward by the future? And I know Joe Dispenza
yeah,
has a
he's
good
amazing.
around that. I think it's be defined by a vision of the future instead of a memory of the past. And
Correct.
so many of us are like in the past because that's the way our brain works. So we look to the past to determine our present experience, what we will create financially, how we'll feel in our body, what our relationships will look like. But again, every new moment is a choice point. So
Absolutely.
there's a way to tap into our future self and create a new experience. So I think being really curious, even having fun with like this new version of me, how does she dress? How does she decorate?
Exactly. No.
Like me like playing in that energy and really showing up as that embodiment. And it's not even like this faking energy. How I see it is actually the most authentic part of us. It's actually about coming home to our truth because we're meant to evolve. We're not meant to stay in the past. And a lot of the beliefs and programs, they're not our soul truth. Like again,
No,
they're
oh goodness, right. They're unconscious, right? That's what I always tell. Yeah, absolutely. I always tell my children, I'm like, you guys are lucky. Like, we're having these conversations now. So, like, keep deleting whatever I might have passed on to you. You're like 13 now, but it's so great to have this awareness. I think that's the main thing. And I actually just got such a beautiful download right now, just as we did this shift from energy work for healing, but energy work for embodiment, energy work for like assisted living, like really like becoming this other version and spending time in the field, right? Because that's what we're both, I mean, you're coming from an Akashic Records perspective. I'm coming from an energy, like tapping into the field because I have two different modalities. Also, the ancient wisdom of shamanic practices is just so powerful, beautiful, and assisting to go out in nature, even in your own space, and have this dialogue and support and see a bigger extension of ourselves, right? And then there's the energy perspective where you can close and tap into somebody's aura and see the field. And again, you're communicating with the field. And the Akashic Records is another place for you. So I think that's also what's so beautiful. Joe Dispenza, from a scientific perspective, it's also talking about the field. There is this field that is our like best friend that can really help us in so many ways.
Oh, absolutely. There is so much support there. And it is about taking on that new lens. I think it's a different level of consciousness when
Yeah.
we start to tap into and realize, like, okay, if time isn't linear and there's these different frequencies, what am I holding in my field? And can I
Yes.
play with this tapping into a new energy and really just having fun with it as well. But yeah, so many people are talking about it in very different ways, and there are so many beautiful modalities and tools. And I think it's wonderful too, even being someone who works with astrology, and the records is the one I gravitate most to. And it takes us back to our blueprint, our soul's blueprint. So who we are beyond the labels, projections, and the stories. I'll often tell people that may even study, like I'm more tropical Western astrology. I'll have clients that come in through the Vedic lens. And I'm like, that's beautiful too. Like it's all our soul blueprint. It's different ways of looking at it. Or people that study human design. I'm like, isn't it amazing that we can look at it through these different lenses and understand it in a new way? And yet it's all taking us back to our blueprint. And I love that there's been so much interest and awakening to this, because it's a layer of more deeply understanding ourselves, but also other people. So one of my favorite ways to work with astrology is the archetypes. Like there's 12 zodiac signs, and they each represent a different archetypal energy that we all carry within us.
Mm-hmm.
In our birth chart, some people think like, okay, I don't have this represented if I don't have a planet there. They're like, oh, I don't have this Libra. But the thing is, we have all those 12 signs governing over a certain area of our chart. And the more we understand these archetypes, the better we are able to connect with other people. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the shifts I learned really early on with astrology. Like it opened me up to understanding people that may think completely different than me, that may show up differently. And instead of like, having a judgment of that, I was able to see it through compassion and curiosity and basically a deeper understanding of who they are. And that's transformative.
That
And it
is
also,
beautiful.
yeah, it's so amazing. And it also helped me connect with the different parts of self. And I love helping clients do that. Like we are multidimensional. So understanding astrology through that lens can help us tap into those different archetypes within ourselves, depending on what we are navigating with the season of the life that we are in. Yeah.
That is so powerful. That really just like hit resonated because of yeah, like you're saying, it's also about the relationships that we're involved in and being able to witness what may be a judgment instead of a judgment, transforming that into an acceptance and saying, okay, well, this is their archetype. And I think that can help the world a lot to really do a little more research and understanding a little bit more of your family dynamic. Also, like each archetype within your family, in your workspace, in your environment, just like recognizing that is another way of viewing life, another lens, I would say, into like relationships.
Oh, absolutely, Jessica. Yeah, it's a different lens because I think we can have a lot of misconceptions as well. Like even, yeah, in our partnerships, in our family, like, my husband and I are very different in many ways. Like I'm very spiritual, very intuitive, very in my feminine. He's very logical and analytical, and
Mm.
even understanding his astrology, even if he's not fully open.
That's
I'll
great.
explore his astrology. And, it gives me an understanding of like, okay, he's just like thinking in a different way. Like he approaches topics in a different way. The way he conveys information and is just different. And
Yeah.
it helps like reduce the misunderstanding or
Right.
misconceptions that sometimes we project onto others if they just approach things differently. And I mean that like when we can have understanding, that's everything. Like,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah.
And then we can really be in the space of oneness. Because I also always say that, like, when we can really look at others fully and be like, I love everything in you because it's also in me. So it's like it shifts from like judgment or, I mean, maybe that's one thing I want to talk on also, like being so energetically like fine, or that's in German, but being like in tune to energy, right? So how have you in your business expansion been able to kind of shut out, I would say, the judgments or, the other, yeah, I would say mostly judgments or insecurities. Like what did you really focus on not being affected or?
Yeah, I think that's such a powerful question, whether that's in our business or other areas of our life. And again, our business to me is like a vehicle for my soul's evolution, and many of the clients I work with feel the same. And I think a part of growing our business, putting our message out there, our voice out there, especially in today's world, there's going to be people who disagree, right? And that's not a bad thing on its face at all. Sometimes people disagree in ways that aren't very nice, ways that are very judgmental,
Have you
right?
experienced it, right? That's normal. I think we have to fight through that. You have, right? Because
Of
yeah.
course.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I think anytime we're out there speaking our truth, and especially, talking about energy and astrology and, my stance on spirituality, I always get that.
That's beautiful.
Um,
You just deserve
I
it.
think at the end of the day, it's just staying committed to what's on my heart to share and recognizing like our brain may go to, we may have 100 nice comments and there's one that feels judgmental and our brain will naturally go to that, but we can train it to do otherwise. And a lot of that is like knowing I'm safe. I think we fear disagreements and judgment because it triggers the part of us that feels like, oh no, if I'm kicked out of the tribe or this person doesn't like me, I'm not safe, like on a physiological level. Our brain can be very extreme with that. It's like our safety is
Absolutely.
at risk. But the thing is, that's usually not true.
Mhm.
There's moments, there's situations, yes, but usually if it's a stranger on the internet disagreeing, it's like, I'm okay, I'm
Yeah.
safe. They can dislike me, they can disapprove. So a lot of it is knowing and, cultivating that feeling of safety within ourselves. And how I think of it at the end of the day is my 80-year-old self looking back on my life, she's going to regret not going for it, not following my soul's path, right? Because I believe we may
Right.
get a chance to do those lessons again, not in a punishment way, but just our souls wanting to grow and expand. So I might as well say yes to my path. And, other people don't get to
Absolutely.
determine what that is. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, what I've recognized also is like when we do like I center and meditate every morning and align, I think like that is also like an energetic practice to be like, I know that I'm doing everything out of love, right? Like I
yes.
know that I'm protected, I have my space, I have my light, and I will continue forward, and then having like that other layer of what you're saying too, it's like there's always going to be that. So I can't take it personal. I'm safe. Yeah, it always goes back to those deep truths, like being safe, belonging. We always belong. That's also a big problem. A lot of us walking around with that block of not belonging. And yeah, I think when we find first that connection with spirit, with God, with our hearts, then we know that we're never alone. So
Oh,
it's okay.
so beautifully said. I love how you bring that into the belonging as well, because yeah, a lot of us have that core wound
Mm,
of alone, feeling isolated, feeling misunderstood. And even though that can be a human experience from that higher vantage point, it's like, of course you belong. Like, you're
right,
here on the planet, like infinite intelligence flows through each of us. Like you can't not belong. We can have an experience of feeling like we don't. But
right.
this is what I love about the records as well, is like that bird's eye view that it helps us like zoom out and see the bigger picture so we're not as entangled with the stories that can cause a lot of
Mm.
separation, division, or suffering. And when we zoom out and see it differently, we can kind of escape from that entanglement.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that really is the process of the deep truths, right? Like I think that's what this energy work is as well, is like reconnecting with our true nature. This is another avenue of getting into that place. And it's really an evolution, it's a path. I would say this path that we're both on, and that, you support so many women and fulfilling their heart passions, their dreams, and also supporting others, right? Because a lot of the women that you work with are spiritual entrepreneurs, or like, what is the variety of clients that you have?
Absolutely. Yes. So I tend to attract entrepreneurs, but very creative entrepreneurs. So I have a lot of artists, a lot of creatives, a lot of healers that really feel like they're here to fulfill a calling, whether that's through their art, through their healing abilities. And it's like a bigger mission. So we all, again, incarnate with a different purpose. And the people that I'm so blessed to work with, they're really incredible leaders too. Like they're leading incredible communities, they're leading with heart, and I love supporting them and getting that work out into the world
Mm,
in bigger ways that feel really aligned. And when we work with the records and astrology, so many people love it because I find they find their way to me when they've done different strategies and techniques. And maybe they've even had some success with it, but it doesn't feel like it lands or it feels fulfilling. So maybe like they're making the money or they're creating the impact, but there's a disconnect, and connecting back to their records and astrology is a way and a tool to come back to your blueprint. So it's like a coming home to the self. And from that space, we can't help but create incredible things. Like,
Oh,
really,
absolutely. Yeah. So it seems, yeah, like the clients then get like this anchor point, this like home that they can always go back to when life takes them off the path a little bit. And then they remember, and through these Akashic records, these experiences, then they can always tap into that on their own, right?
yes. Well, and that's always, my intent is they're really learning to be able to do that for themselves and in time as well, and to be able to get like that clarity that they need on their path. And I mean, it always ends up creating incredible success. And I say true success, right? Like
Mhm.
soul success, like it lands with us and we feel fulfilled. And yes, of course, that reflection in abundance and wealth. I love helping creatives and healers with that, because I think traditionally there's been a block around that and a lot of misconceptions of I can't be spiritual or creative and wealthy. And I'm like, why not? You're like, when you
Right. But
enjoy
that's
this.
also an energy story, right? I mean, with this topic, would you say, I mean, you help people shift the energy
Yes.
to receive, right? So that's you in tapping into the fields as well.
Totally. And I mean, from there, of course, we'll bring in strategies because growing a business requires that. But it's like that foundation of the energetic and the frequency first. And yeah, escaping from those old stories. And I do think that's a change that's happening in the world, where healers and light workers are saying, yes, I get to live in wealth and financial
Mhm.
overflow because I circulate that in beautiful ways on the planet. So it's not bad for me to receive. And I think it also represents an ownership of our gifts, because on the earth plane at this time, money is a way, it's our exchange, right? It's like our
Right.
exchange.
For
So
experiences, for freedom, for so many things. Yeah.
yeah, so it's such a gift when we circulate money in ways that feel aligned for us and allow ourselves to receive. So I think that's a big collective shift. And, wealth goes beyond just the money part that is a part of it, but like truly fulfilled in
Mm.
our life and living in overflow and owning our gifts and being grounded in our power. And that's what changes this world. If we can each be grounded in a power, rooted in love, the
Absolutely. In the light.
power those lower consciousness ways of understanding power. This is about a power that's anchored in love and our connection to source.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. And it is really like such a feeling of fulfillment and feeling alive when you go on this journey, right? To like say, I'm gonna put myself out there, I'm gonna do what's uncomfortable, I'm gonna try it out. Afterwards, we all know that is like a feeling, you have a different sensation of life experience when you when you kind of have the courage to walk into the unknown, let's just say.
Oh my goodness. Yes, it isn't that what it's all about? Like just playing full out, not holding back, not let fear run the show. And that's where I say like our business is that vehicle for growth, because it will bring up our fears around visibility, our financial blocks, it like all those things, with the opportunity to heal it, not to keep us stuck there. But I
Right.
think to continue growing and evolving, we get to face those things. We get to look at what those stories are, what those insecurities are, what those fears are, and move through it. And that's exactly like what it is all about, is the growth that happens in that process. And that will ripple into every area of your life, feeling more confident, being seen, not being afraid to be disliked, leading from heart, like all of that will ripple into every area.
Oh my God, absolutely. That's the perfect recap of this whole experience. And just one last thing for people that are interested also in terms of you you offer certifications for the Akashic Records to be a practitioner. How does that work? What exactly is this?
Yes, yes.
I
So I
love it.
open a few times throughout the year, and I really teach people how to tap into this space, reading the records. But I feel like the way I teach it is very unique and powerful, in that I also help them do activations in the space. So traditionally, people tap in and read the information. I'm more interested in helping people create in that realm. So, yes, being able to read it, but also how do we work with the different timelines? How do we help our clients in this space really anchor into like that highest path for joy, for freedom, for abundance, and of course getting the tools to do that and the how to do that in the record. So I love it. Again, this has been
Oh.
transformative transformational for me. So if I can share that and pass that on to other people and have them be able to use that as a tool in their life so they can bring that into their work, into their sessions, but also in the process, like your business will grow and you will be transformed. So it's like twofold.
Oh my God, it's magical. I love it already. It's like living in an alter reality before you ever actually get there, because that's another thing, the simulation. Like we are literally playing with timelines now. And like what you're offering is just an assistance for people to remember that they have these gifts and then also just empower them to live the most fulfilling life in this as this person, as who we are, because who knows if we'll be back or not. But I mean, why not? You know, when the path is opening up and humanity is also recognizing that there has to be another way. I think that that's the most important thing to, like I said, provide light in the contrast and offer this other way of remembering, right? Because, like you said, everybody has these gifts. It's definitely a way of life. And it's just so beautiful, everything that you do and all of your wonderful. So you should definitely follow Kara. I'll put that on the bottom here on Facebook and Instagram. You offer just such beautiful wisdom, such a, I say in German, Leichtigkeit, like such a nice energy of relaxation and just grounding. So I really want to thank you for always offering those free goodies and then also your service is what you do for coaching and astrology and everything else. So such a pleasure, Kara. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, this was so fun, Jessica. Truly my pleasure. Always love connecting with you, and I'll even share a freebie you can give to your
Oh,
community if
perfect.
they want to go further with the records and actually experience it. Because I know, talking about it, they're probably getting a feel, but to actually go into that space is a very unique experience. So I'll pass that along. And yeah, just one other thing I feel called to share too, like something that's always been on my heart, even though we're talking about these higher realms and the spirituality, is knowing what a gift it is to be in these bodies on the earth plane, and that we're here to fully enjoy this journey. And I think that journey can become even more enjoyable when we have access to these higher realms, not to escape,
Yeah.
but to ground in to this timeline. So that's always the way I approach it.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Absolutely. Like very intentional living with this knowledge. It's beautiful. Well, Kara, I think we could keep talking. I have so many ideas. I would love to do more talk. So we'll talk that offline. But thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. And to the listeners or to the viewers, thank you for joining us and expect more coming down the line. And I wish you a beautiful day. So I cut this off.